Hi, welcome to Little Steps, Big Gains. My name is Elizabeth, and in this video, we're going to learn together about speech with Parkinson's disease. Now, I have learned over the years how powerful knowledge can be, not just on the brain, but our overall emotional and psychological well being. And I say that because it is so frightening to have a disease and not know what is happening and why those things are happening. That is the purpose of this video, to learn together how speech is impacted by Parkinson's disease. Now, I'm an occupational therapist, so I recruited my little sister who is an expert in this field, and that is Dr. Allison Hilger. And I am so grateful that she's joining us because for both of us, she's going to break down some of these big terms, these speech therapy terms, and break that down for us. She's going to tell us about how speech is produced and then explain to us the 5 most common speech characteristics that we see with individuals with Parkinson's disease. It'll be a great foundation because on her next video, then she's going to tell us about the speech therapy evidence-based interventions for those impairments. I am looking forward to that. As for Dr. Allison Hilger, she is a speech and language pathologist and researcher at the University of Colorado in Boulder. She received her clinical master's of speech and language pathology at Purdue University and then went on to complete her PhD at Northwestern University, where she investigated the impact of neurological diseases on speech. She's currently the director of the Colorado University Speech and Motor Lab and is doing tons of research. She's specifically conducting research on how speech is perceived by individuals with ataxia, speech therapy satisfaction with individuals with ataxia, as well as how speech production relates to aerosol generation for disease transmission. So I'm proud of her and I'm eager to see where her research takes us. So all that being said, I am actually going to come and sit down with you, learn with you, and let's turn the camera on over to her.
Hi, I am thrilled to contribute to Little Steps, Big Gains. I am Allison Hilger, and I'm a speech language pathologist with a PhD focusing on motor speech impairments resulting from neurological conditions. I lead a lab at the University of Colorado Boulder called the CU Motor Speech Lab that investigates speech characteristics from dysarthria. So, what is dysarthria and how does it relate to Parkinson's disease? I'm going to describe some of these definitions for medical jargon words like dysarthria, specifically hypokinetic dysarthria, and I'm also going to describe the speech characteristics that result from Parkinson's disease. Dysarthria. You may have heard this term maybe from your neurologist, your physician, your speech language pathologist, or maybe some of your own internet searches. So what does dysarthria mean? Dysarthria is a general speech pathology term, and it is used to describe a neurological condition that impairs the execution of speech. In other words, a condition in which an impairment in the brain makes it difficult to produce speech. Dysarthria can happen from a number of neurological conditions, including stroke, multiple sclerosis, ataxia, and Parkinson's disease. Because of that, speech language pathologists have identified specific subtypes of dysarthria that relate to certain parts of the brain and certain neurological conditions. The dysarthria that results from Parkinson's disease is called hypokinetic dysarthria. Hypokinetic dysarthria results from some sort of damage or disruption to the basal ganglia. The words hypo and kinetic mean reduced range of motion. The basal ganglia is important for preparing, maintaining, and switching between movements. This also includes movements for speech. Speech is composed of hundreds of these small, rapid movements that need to be precisely coordinated and timed with each other. So think about it. When you talk, you breathe, you take an inhale, then you exhale, the air comes out. And as you exhale, you vibrate the vocal folds in your larynx. And that is where your voice comes from vibration in the vocal folds. Then, as the air comes further goes down your vocal tract, it is articulated in your mouth. And so that is all of the coordination that is required to produce speech: respiration, phonation, and articulation. So if there's an impairment in the basal ganglia, then the preparation, maintenance, and switching among all of these movements for speech are going to be impaired. So let's talk about what these impairments look like and sound like in Parkinson's disease. However, before I jump in, I want to make it clear that not every person with Parkinson's is going to have every speech characteristic I'm going to describe. There are also other speech characteristics that I'm not going to describe that you may notice in Parkinson's disease. Parkinson's is a heterogeneous, diverse condition, and there are different speech characteristics that emerge based on the duration since the onset, the location of the impairment, and just own personal factors. But I'm going to describe the 5 most common speech characteristics that we see in Parkinson's. The first speech characteristic is monopitch and monoloudness. This means that speech sounds like pitch and loudness are staying the same without variation. When we talk, we vary our pitch and loudness in order to stress certain words, express emotion, and just to make our speech sound more animated. In hypokinetic dysarthria, pitch and loudness lack that variation, making speech sound less animated or flat. One difficulty is that this flat monotone speech often does not accurately match how the speaker is feeling. For example, someone with Parkinson's may be very excited to see a family member, but their speech may sound flat and lacking emotion. If you are a caregiver or a friend of someone with Parkinson's, remember that it's important to ask that person directly how they are feeling instead of making assumptions based on their speech. Their speech will often not match their emotion. And if you have Parkinson's disease, one strategy is to directly say how you're feeling. Maybe say, I am happy, I am sad, I am excited. Just be very explicit about your emotions. Again, because in Parkinson's, emotions often do not match how speech sounds because pitch and loudness are not being varied to match that emotion. The second speech characteristic in hypokinetic dysarthria is rapid accelerated rate of speech. So as we talk, we have a speed or a rhythm for how fast we talk. In Parkinson's disease, the speech becomes quite rapid and accelerated. In a speech evaluation, we often ask our clients to repeat certain sounds or syllables like pa, 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 as fast as they can. And people with Parkinson's can usually repeat these sounds at extraordinarily fast rates of speech, faster than what people can typically do. So that fast, accelerated rate of speech is a very characteristic sign of Parkinson's disease. The third speech characteristic in hypokinetic dysarthria is a hoarse, breathy vocal quality. When we talk and when our vocal folds vibrate, our vocal folds come together in our larynx, just like this, but I'm going to show you as if you're seeing them from the bottom up. Your vocal folds vibrate and they come into full contact to create that strong voice. What happens in Parkinson's disease is there is a space between the vocal folds when they vibrate. We call this a bowing. The vocal folds are bowed. So that means when the vocal folds are vibrating, again, you're looking at them from the bottom up, there is this space where air is escaping. That will make the vocal quality sound hoarse and breathy. And so that is why you get that hoarse, breathy vocal quality, because the vocal folds are not coming into complete contact. Lastly, the fourth and fifth speech characteristics we see in hypokinetic dysarthria are disfluencies and unusual pauses. So people who have Parkinson's will often repeat certain words or syllables while they talk, such as I'm going to the store or I'm going to the store. They also may add pauses at unusual locations, such as the middle of a word, such as I'm going to the restaurant, right? Putting a space in the middle of restaurant is an unusual location. So those are the fourth and fifth characteristics of speech and Parkinson's: disfluencies and unusual pauses. So those are the 5 main speech characteristics that we observe in hypokinetic dysarthria due to Parkinson's disease: monopitch and monoloudness, rapid accelerated rate of speech, hoarse, breathy vocal quality, disfluencies, and unusual pauses. In the next video, I'm going to summarize some evidence-based speech approaches for hypokinetic dysarthria. I'm going to talk about some approaches that have to be done with a speech language pathologist, either because they require specialized training or specialized equipment. And then I'll talk about some approaches that you can try to do at home. Many of them will still be better to do with a speech pathologist, but you could try those at home as well. So those will be in my next video, some evidence-based speech approaches for improving or compensating for the impairment in Parkinson's disease. If you want to learn more about my research, please go to the link in the notes here to check out my lab website. You're always welcome to email me with any questions or thoughts in this video, and I really appreciate your time.